we're going live. I did not do a bandwidth test before this, but we are not dropping frames. Okay. All right. Well, we should be live now. So, anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to WordCast. This is WordCast number 44. I know the title is wrong because I forgot to change it again because I do that sometimes because I'm smart. So I'm going to fix that while Daniel introduces himself.
Hi, I'm Daniel.
Dang it. I did it for you again.
Yeah.
But hello everybody, welcome to WordCast. I got a lot of interesting news this week actually, and the majority of it we actually wrote about on the site, so there have been consistent articles on the site recently, so that's pretty great, right? Now I will say that, oh, don't want to make noise. Those that follow this closely, let's see if we have anybody actually watching right now before I say that portion, to make sure that I'm saying it to the people that actually join right when we go live.
Hey, we got one comment already.
Do we?
Yeah. Yo, from Primitive, just spelled better.
Primitive, just spelled better.
Yeah, they spelled it better than the word is normally spelled.
Oh, I like it. Thank you. Yes. Yo, what's up? We got 2 people watching. Okay. That's something. Just want to make sure everybody joins in before we really continue with too much news. While I also fix this.
Did you not fix it correctly?
No, I just haven't changed it yet.
Oh.
To anything. So, WordCast number 44 this week. No, it's not about the Magic Leap. What is wrong with me? I was prepared, I swear. Don't shake your head at me. Hey, we have a mic stand now, guys, so that when Daniel goes, it shouldn't, in theory, make too much noise. I mean, you'll hear the sound of him hitting the table, but it won't go clank, ear rape. So, that's pretty good. All right, so let me quickly update this title. Whee! Here, you start with the first thing, because you know more about that anyway.
Okay. So, LastPass, which is a password manager, but also it has a two-factor authentication functionality built into it, is not secure like people thought. So essentially, one of the things that LastPass did in order to make it more secure than something like, say, Google Authenticator, is they made it so that you have to put in a passcode or your fingerprint scan to make it work. So it couldn't just be that, oh, you set your phone down unlocked and somebody grabbed it, or a malicious app opened the app and grabbed the two-factor authentication code and was able to get into your account. The malicious app being the one that would be more likely to actually impact you, because how often is someone going to take your phone while it's unlocked?
Yeah, exactly.
But an app running on your phone trying to get into your account could probably do so.
Okay.
And so the reason that this is not secure is part of how Android works, and also lazy development on LastPass's end. So within Android, there's a functionality where each different thing within an app can have different, like essentially it's an activity, and you can launch directly into that activity if you use a third-party app.
Right. Also, I got a comment that the stream sounds quiet, so let me turn this, make sure we're turning the gain up a little. That should help. In theory, that should help, because I got a comment that it was quiet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that when you go from the LastPass application into your two-factor authentication, it requires the fingerprint sensor or the password. For some reason, they didn't think to put it within the actual authenticator activity. So if you use a third-party app, or more likely as far as something that would actually be stealing your code to get into your account, if there was a malicious app on your phone and it launched the activity, it could capture the code without the fingerprint sensor, so it defeats the whole purpose of using LastPass over something like Google Auth.
Which is unfortunate.
Yes.
Now,
this is also something that LastPass has known about since June and has not fixed.
And it's somewhat, it's unfortunate for me, because those that follow closely know that I actually switched over to LastPass because I was going to use Firefox Quantum instead of Google Chrome as my main browser. Mm-hmm. Now, since then, I've switched back to Chrome for various reasons. I'll probably write an article about how I'm frustrated with Firefox Quantum, actually. I was very happy at first, but not so happy anymore. Unfortunately, there's a lot of issues with it that have been bothering me. Now that we have some more of the regular people in here, though, a few more people I'm assuming that are regulars that have joined, I wanted to talk a little bit about the channel before we get into the next bit of news, which is exciting. Well, the next few bits of news, actually. There's a lot of exciting stuff today, including a bunch of AMD leaks and stuff like that. But what I wanted to say is, some of you know, last week I talked about this a little bit. Last week I mentioned why there wasn't a video last Monday, and that was because I potentially lost all my data on my server. I have since been putting a lot of effort into trying to recover all of my data, and wasn't able to get a video out Monday, which was Christmas. I was hoping to have one ready on Christmas, like Christmas special sort of thing. Unfortunately, didn't get that out. I have had some luck recovering the data, but not as much as I would personally like. I have found the majority of my videos that aren't product videos. Everything product related is gone. I can't seem to figure out how to get it back. I don't know exactly how that happened. Alongside the power loss, I wouldn't think this much data corruption would have occurred. So it's just unfortunate, but there's not really realistically a whole lot I can do about it. So at this point, I just wanted to mention to everybody that I'm kind of getting that back flowing together. The good thing is the review of my case, the Thermaltake, the Tower 900, I do have all the footage for that. So I'm going to be able to do the video for that still without having to refilm it. So I'm going to try and get that video out on Monday. But Friday this week, you'll probably see a video explaining to the followers that don't necessarily watch the podcast why exactly all of my video content has been gone for a while other than the live stream. So anyway.
Maybe you should just not delete your stuff.
Yeah, right, because I deleted it. Okay, so I'm still getting reports that it sounds a lot more quiet than it used to. And I don't know why that is, but I'll probably boost it a little bit. Whoops.
Not mute it.
Not mute it. That's the wrong direction. The volumes, I can turn it up a little. Let's see. Let's try 120. That might, in theory, improve it. So let me know if that gets better. Appreciate the notice there, though. Okay, so why am I watching another ad? Okay, whatever.
Because you like ads.
Apparently I like ads, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, just wanted to give everybody a heads up about that. Also, okay, that's just the shadows. My laptop, I thought it said just SAG. I thought the logo had broken off, so it just said SAG, and I was a little confused.
Yeah.
Also, Primitive is asking, how's that 29-inch ultra-wide now? The one that I did the review on. You bought it, and you're watching the stream on it right now. That's awesome. Well, so two things. First, it's amazing. I'm still very happy with it. I still do all my editing on it. I don't plan to upgrade it until HDR monitors become actually available, because I just don't feel like it's worth, like, I don't think a resolution bump is worth it. That panel is a great panel. Second thing, my buddy, who also is on the podcast and known as Calvin, is actually playing on it right now, so it's working great in the background over there. But glad that you made it over here from that video, it seems. That's the video that has pulled a lot of people in, and I appreciate that. So, all right. So, next topic. FCC.
I was going to finish talking about one thing with the LastPass.
Oh, there's something else? Okay.
Well,
okay,
I was going to finish explaining something, and then you jumped in, and then you changed the subject. Good job. So with part of what makes this so problematic isn't just that this is a problem. It's that, so LastPass found out June 13th about this, and then the person followed up multiple times before informing them that they would be publishing the details.
Right.
And they've just pretty much, they initially, when you mentioned it,
yeah,
they said they were able to reproduce the issue.
Okay.
And then the second time they said that they were working on it, but there's no ETA. Then just still being investigated, then just no responses.
So, that's actually weird, because that is not LastPass's normal way of handling situations like this. Because they've had vulnerabilities reported them before, and they fix it as fast as they can.
When it comes to passwords, I feel like two-factor, and I mentioned this to you, I feel like their two-factor authentication
is lower
just
priority
there for them to say they have it.
But it's like no focus.
If it was a priority, this would have been dealt with in June.
Yeah.
It would have been dealt with before going
Because if you look at like some other issues that they've had breach-wise, like for the passwords and stuff, I mean, they haven't fixed like that.
Now,
just done.
I fully wouldn't be surprised if within the next week or two this is fixed.
You fully wouldn't be surprised?
Yeah.
Good.
100% not be surprised.
Okay.
But it's just like, now that it's public and people are going to complain, they'll fix it.
Yeah, and that's true. They will. It's just a matter of time now. So, whatever. Okay, so FCC approves wireless power at a distance. Now, this is interesting and exciting. So, I didn't read into this a whole bunch, But from what I understand, I mean, you're the one that did most of the reading on it, but from what I understand, up to 3 feet away, wireless charging.
Yes.
That's impressive. And exciting.
Yes.
I mean, I would love, like, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean we're going to actually get a product with it soon, though. It just means that it's legal now, right?
Let me explain. So, for one, this uses technology that we've had for a while in the lab, and is not anything that's remotely surprisingly doable. Essentially what they do is they just convert energy into radio waves. The radio waves beam into a receiver. I haven't read like a white paper on it or anything, but from my understanding, the receiver would function kind of like essentially it would make something just move to generate energy.
That's really interesting. So it's probably going to be pretty slow charging, I'd imagine.
Well, yeah.
I mean, especially
if
at
it
first,
wasn't,
obviously.
It would heat up.
Yeah,
like
right. Yeah, exactly.
But one of the key things that's exciting about what they're doing with this, it's called Watt Up, is the name of the standard or the tech, is that it's a standard. It's something that is manufacturer agnostic. So Samsung could do it, Sony could do it, Apple could do it.
But can it charge this laptop from a charger on the wall there while I'm gaming?
Well, you don't have a wall there. Or you don't have plugs
there.
But
what if I did?
I don't know. Like I said,
it's not going to deliver enough power for a laptop.
I mean, we don't know. We'll see.
Well, for something like that.
Because it can charge multiple devices. So if it was all going to one, who knows?
Although I would imagine each device charges at the same speed. If it's using radio waves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, that's interesting.
Because theoretically, they could put, if it is something involving motion, they could put a couple of them in the laptop, or they could put a bigger one, depending on how it's designed.
Just a pile of them.
Yeah. But, like, this is the design for the charger. Like, if you want to pull up the source link and post or show this picture, they actually have something you can just
cap set up on this laptop yet, unfortunately, on this machine. So
that sucks because we would probably need that for the ad one at the end of the podcast.
That's true. You keep talking about it. Let me see if I can get a screen cap set up.
So essentially, one of the examples they have for a product is literally just a dongle that you can plug into your. In this case, it's a MacBook. And this thing receives the power and charges the MacBook. So eventually this could be built into products, but initially you can just buy like a lightning plug for an iPad or like a USB-C plug for a phone.
Right.
And then you don't have to have any cables going to your desk. You just... So this is like actual wireless charging.
Wireless.
Not wireless to a little pad that just beams energy.
Right, because my thought was still, when you have wireless just to a little pad, just put little pogo pins on the back and charge at full speed. Like, that was always my thing about it. I mean, you're setting it on a pad, which is more convenient, but you're still having physical contact, and so the point
and
just use magnets.
And it still has to be placed fairly carefully.
Right, exactly. So what they could do...
At least with, like, Apple's coming out with a new wireless charger that's next year that's supposed to be you can set it
anywhere on it and you're good to go. Right. Because at that point, like, if you have to place it in a specific orientation, like pogo pins, you click it on with a magnet, forces it into the right location, and you're charging at just as fast as wired speeds, right? So it's like... The benefit wasn't as good as it could have been.
The only real advantages that wireless charging had was cases and skins, and then also being able to be more easily built into things. You could have like IKEA has lamps and furniture that you can just set your phone on and it charges.
Right, exactly.
But other than that, for like just the little pads, you might as well have just had pins.
It would have been simpler. Also, Chuko says he's back. Hi.
Nice. Yeah, like they could have just. I'm gonna grab your phone for an example.
That is fine.
They could have not had the speaker down here. They could have had the speakers in the front, which they should do anyway. Yes. And then pogo pins in the bottom. That way, there's a standard spot for them.
Yeah. That's a good point. Also, be really careful because this phone is already broken.
I know.
So I wouldn't want it to get more.
He breaks all of his phones.
Why do I don't break computer parts?
Because you don't carry.
Always break my phones. You know, that's the logical reason, but you're probably wrong.
I just want to bring this up while we're on the topic of you breaking phones. What happened?
Burgers?
No.
Microwaves.
So, no.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's talk about this.
He has the BlackBerry Key 1.
Yes, let's talk about it. So, guys, I have a BlackBerry Key 1. It was my daily driver for a while. I liked it. It was a very good phone. It's still mine. Now, my standpoint in the review still stands of... So there was a common issue of the screen coming out when people would like drop it, right? And I talked about that in the review a little bit, saying that I don't think it's really a big issue. It's fairly unlikely to happen. And I also had hey, Don't give it away, even though it's obvious already. So I had also mentioned, though, that BlackBerry was willing to, within warranty period, replace the phone if that happens, right? Now, I had a case on mine, and I dropped it, and it landed on the bottom where the keyboard is, and half the edge of the screen came out. Now, it's still fully functional.
Please tell me you got a picture of it.
Well, I mean... Right.
With the screen out.
Oh, no, it doesn't click back in. It's just held in by adhesive. So you can literally hold it upside down, and you can push it, and it goes... Bloop, bloop, bloop.
So
I can take a picture.
You're making a video update.
I'll probably make a video update, but again, my standpoint doesn't change, though. The standpoint is still, it's unlikely... And in the event that it does happen, BlackBerry replaces it.
But over the topic of replacement, for people like you and me who have multiple phones, that's fine. Just stick your SIM card in another phone, whatever.
Right.
If it's your only phone, then you don't have a phone until BlackBerry replaces
That's true.
it.
That's
a
good point.
very big problem for a lot of people.
Yes, that's true. And they have fixed this issue since, though, is the thing. So anybody buying one now... You're good to go. The reason mine was like that, even though I technically purchased mine after they fixed the issue, was because I bought it from a friend that had been, because the phone had been used once by me, and he took $200 off the price. So I was like, yeah, I don't even care if the screen comes out. Yeah. But that's me. I have another phone, and I have multiple phones, right? So, yeah.
It's just like, that's a very big oversight at all to have in phone manufacturing.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's not like the company that made that phone hasn't made hardware before.
Well, that's true. TCL has made hardware before.
It's pretty common practice to use adhesive on the screens.
Well, they did, just not enough. There's a little bit on the edge of the screen. It's just not enough. So basically, as credit goes straight to him, but Jerry Rig Everything did an update video on it and actually took it off of his shelf of shame. Because basically they were like, oh crap, he's right, there's not enough adhesive. Put 4 times more than any phone has ever done. And they just covered it. So much adhesive that it's like, I'm sorry, if your screen comes out before the phone breaks, like...
I'm just very happy that of all people it happened to him. Because I told him it would happen to him.
Well, you told me it would happen, and I did not disagree with you that it would, but I told
you said you don't think it will.
I said that I'm gonna have a case on it, which means it probably won't. I will say that, and it happened with a case on it. But I will also say that I said, hey, I'm not gonna spend $200 more when I can get it for cheap. Now I'm going back to all touchscreen phones myself, but it's still a very good device. So, yeah. Okay. Shall we go on to the next topic?
Sure.
So this one's fun. I actually wrote an article on the website about this. So you guys can go over to wordtechreviews.com, also linked in the description, the second link. But if you go to wordtechreviews.com, you can see the article that I wrote up in full on it, but I'm going to talk about it now. So there was a leak of AMD's 400 series chipsets. Now, not a ton of data. It was a leak, and it's confirmed at this point. It's not a rumor of what these details are. But so the 400 series chipsets, which would be like, X470, we're assuming it'll be called, and maybe X499 if they end up updating the Threadripper socket, although according to these specs, actually I'm theorizing they might not. But anyway, the AMD 400 series chipsets was leaked by PCI SIG. They're an organization that keeps track of all this kind of stuff, so I don't know exactly what the SIG actually stands for, but they're a group that basically, probably standard something group, for PCI Express, and they actually have a listing here. It says PCI Express 3.0 AMD 400 series chipsets. It's actually a chart of the speeds and stuff. So AMD 400 series chipsets is going to be using revision 3.0 of PCI Express. So it'll be PCI Express 3.0, not 4.0 like some expected, but I think 3.0 is much more likely. 4.0 is still kind of unnecessary for a chipset design. So that's 8 gigatransfers per second, which is 4 lanes. So 4 lanes of PCI Express 3.0 allows for a pretty significant amount, and that's coming off of the chipset, obviously. The lanes that you actually have in your CPU are still obviously going to be the same, but this will allow for more storage options, potentially more SATA ports, which is actually, I think, a significant limit to the 400 series chipsets. In fact, back before I had my Threadripper 1950X system, I was running this guy back here, actually, which was a 1600. Or Ryzen 5 1600, which is the 6-core, and I was planning to upgrade to the 8-core potentially, and him and I actually had conversations about this, but one of the big issues was there wasn't enough SATA ports, because for my system, when you're going to have 5 SSDs and 2 to 4 hard drives, you need a substantial amount of SATA ports, right?
Yeah.
Some of those being NVMe SSDs, but still. So I was a little bit frustrated. I ended up going over to Threadripper partially for the expandability options, obviously also better CPU performance, and this kind of solves that issue, which is really important, I think. I think a lot of people are probably a little bit frustrated because you get more options when it comes to SATA in relation to Intel. So Intel has, you can get up to 8 PCI or 8 SATA ports. So that should, in theory, help with that. But again, we don't exactly know what they're going to be doing with the bandwidth. It's double what they had before, which is PCI Express 2.0 by 4. But the point is, it's a lot faster, and that's cool. So
yeah. One thing that I do want to bring up pertaining to just this, if you guys have read any articles about it before this podcast, is that I've seen this on a few places, WCCF Tech, a few other sites. Every single article I've seen about this, other than the actual PCI SIG post, seems to just automatically assume that this confirms all of the chipsets are getting refreshed.
Right,
and while
and
that's
that's a good
likely,
point. Yes,
that's not likely at all what
that's
this
not
confirms.
right. 400 series could literally just be X470.
Yes,
and there's variations. So this could be just the spec for X470. That's an important note there, because obviously you're not going to have like as strict limits on like X499 if that's a thing, right? Like there's a lot more expansion when it comes to Threadripper and that's mostly related to the more PCI Express slots on Threadripper itself, but you get the point.
Yeah. So that's one thing I just wanted to specify. Like, I don't know why they all just are like rolling with the fact that this is all of them when there's nothing indicating that. Like, I haven't seen any articles that specify this is just the chip, like the 400 series, and so we think that these are likely. Right. Or that these are likely, but just like, nope, but just like this confirms all of it, which is not how that works.
And that's like, this, right. And so this is confirming an aspect of it.
Yes.
But, and confirming it. It's not, at this point, like, it's like, this is actually a thing.
It's PCI SIG. It's
like,
there. It's
they determine
yes
what the specs are in a sense, right? Like, they don't determine what's used, but, so anyway, okay, next topic is an interesting one. So this is also one that I wrote about on the site. So external GPU docks, right? Razer Core kind of started it all. You also had the Alienware, I can't remember what it was called, but it was there was the Alienware external GPU box that actually ran through PCI Express rather than Thunderbolt. But Razer Core was the first one that we really know of that ran Thunderbolt that actually functioned good. There have been other ones ever since then, but none of them have been particularly like... They haven't really grabbed me, so these ones kind of do. These ones are a great idea. I don't have a use for it because I have higher-end hardware in my laptop and a portable machine, but for somebody that maybe games on the side. So for those of you who don't know, an external GPU or external graphics card dock is basically a box that you can install a graphics card in. It has its own power supply, sometimes USB ports and stuff like that, and it plugs in through a Thunderbolt cable, well, through a USB-C cable, but Thunderbolt 3 can run through that, so you get 40 gigabits per second, so you can get pretty substantial bandwidth there, allowing you to use the GPU externally in replacement for your internal GPU. Extremely useful for like somebody that maybe has a NUC and they got a NUC and then they decided they wanted to do a game rather than just work, so they want to upgrade the GPU but they don't want a new system, and those NUCs, a lot of them have a quad core CPU, right? So
or you have an Ultrabook and you just
or an Ultrabook. I was gonna say, but like you want to upgrade a NUC, or you want to be that guy where I game sometimes at home. I have a family or whatever. I'm not saying I do, but I mean,
Okay, you don't have a family.
Yeah, I don't have a family. No, but you go to work, you take your Ultrabook or your fairly nice laptop with you or whatever. That's what you work on. A lot of people do. It's got its USB-C port that supports Thunderbolt 3. You get home, you decide you want to play some Overwatch or whatever. You just plug in a cable, and everything's ready to go. Okay, and in this case, not just the GPU, but everything. So they have the Amp Box and the Amp Box Mini. Again, these are from Zotac. So first off, the Amp Box has support for up to 228 millimeter graphics cards, so pretty good size there. I mean, you could fit reference cards in there like a 1080 Ti and stuff. And it's got a 450 watt power supply, although they say 250 watts is the limit for the GPU. Makes sense, it has two 8-pin power connectors. They probably just went with 450 watts because it was like a standard that they could just buy off somebody like Silverstone or whatever. So I guess that makes sense. And there's a little bit of extra power there for some other stuff. So it has 3 USB 3.0 ports on it as well, and 1 Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0 port. So you've got your peripherals can plug into this, basically, is the idea. You plug in your mouse, your keyboard, maybe your headset, right? If your headset isn't, if you either have an external DAC or your headset's USB based, And then you also have that quick charge port, so you get home, you can plug in your phone too, and you've got full quick charge support, which is really nice. I like quick charge.
I wish that it was USB-C's power delivery spec, not Qualcomm quick charging.
More phones are using Qualcomm quick charging.
I understand that, but that doesn't
USB-C.
make it the actual spec.
Well, that doesn't make it the spec, and I agree. Unfortunately, I think it's just what phones are adopting.
Yeah.
And it's what the industry's moving towards.
I mean, meh.
I don't like it either. I don't like it either.
I'm just saying,
but,
I wish they used it because of the actual spec. Because
well, and
while it's
that makes
unlikely
sense.
that you can that you will run into a problem with a Pixel or the Switch, you can. Because
right,
of that.
right.
It's charging differently than something like this would.
So the Switch does not use the USB-C spec for charging, though, right? Like not the quick charge spec.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Does it? Okay, I know the Pixel does.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I do agree with that, but the problem is then anybody with a Samsung or, you know, any other phone isn't going to be able to use quick charge. So what I'm getting at is...
I'm not saying that they should use it so that my device can quick charge faster. I'm saying that there is a chance at an actual problem with electrical
There is a
issues.
chance of a problem. Okay, that's true.
Because they're
That's
not
true.
using the
Because
spec.
they're not using the spec. But I think that 99% of the people that are buying this that'll have a phone that uses Qualcomm quick charge instead are going to be happier that it uses a quick charge that they support.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the few people that might plug a Pixel or Switch into it.
Or any competent company's USB-C device.
I mean, yes, but the amount of competent companies is pretty limited right now. Okay.
Like Zotac.
Right, no, right, no. So anyway, it's got 3 USB 3.0 ports as well. So like I said, you just plug in all your stuff, and basically you get home, you plug in a cable, and you're good to go. And in fact, from what I understand, it will actually charge the laptop. So if it's like an Ultrabook that supports charging over USB-C, that is, and supports charging at a high, it's an efficient enough notebook that the CPU can run at max speed without draining the battery while charging. Yeah. Otherwise, you have to use a dedicated charger. But the idea of this whole external GPU thing, I think the biggest thing that it favors is people that just game occasionally, that aren't doing live streaming and stuff. They just need a portable machine and they want to be able to game. You buy your GPU and your dock, you get home, you plug it in, your mouse, keyboard, and monitor and headset are ready to go. Boom, you're in the game or whatever. Now, there's also the Amp Box Mini. Slightly smaller version of the Amp Box. Would you have guessed that?
Yeah.
You would have guessed that? Oh, okay. So this one supports up to 200 millimeter GPUs. Pretty good size still. 180 watt PSU, but they only recommend 150 watts for the GPU. As far as I understand, I wrote the article on it, but I think it's a single, as far as I understand. I wrote the article. But I from what I understand, I think it actually uses the... I don't know why I went to the homepage. That was weird.
Because you linked it incorrectly.
Did I link it incorrectly? Oops.
Yeah.
I believe it has one 6-pin power connector. Wow, I can't believe I didn't actually put that part in the article. But I believe it's, one 8-pin, I believe is what it is. So, I mean, nothing super high, and you're not going to be throwing a 1080 Ti in here. But you can still get pretty good performance. And it has 4 USB 3.0 ports. No quick charge. So, just basically replacing that quick charge port, which costs a little extra money with just another USB port. So, not much different, just smaller, right? Now, the other thing here that Zotac has bragged about, and this does work confirmed by various people on other external GPU docks, is it's really external PCI Express. So you can put, oftentimes, other PCI Express devices in them, and they work just fine, usually. In this case, they're bragging about NVMe support. So basically, you can get a high-speed NVMe SSD. So you could potentially, if you were doing like video editing work, and you weren't a gamer, but you did video editing, you get home, you plug your Ultrabook in, and you've got access to a super high-speed drive that you can then use as your drive for all your editing footage that you dump onto, right? And that's going to allow you to, do smoother edits.
Yeah.
Or you could potentially put, that is what Zotac officially supports. Again, a lot of the other ones support that too. But you could also potentially put like a 10 gigabit Ethernet card in there. And then you're good to go with faster Ethernet. So there's a lot of options here. The one thing that disappoints me a little bit is neither the Amp Box or the Amp Box Mini actually support Ethernet. So that's kind of weird, right? So, you can get a USB to Ethernet adapter.
Yeah.
But they don't have it built in. And I feel like one of the main things as a gamer that you would want is plug in one cable, you've got your Ethernet and your peripherals. And that's something I feel like the Razer Core gets right, is it's got your 4 USB 3.0 ports and your Ethernet port.
Yeah.
I think it's a smart design.
Also, one other thing I want to bring up about the USB power delivery thing. I'm assuming this doesn't do USB power delivery to the Thunderbolt laptop. And most Thunderbolt laptops use power delivery if they use Thunderbolt for charge.
That's true. I don't know.
This is why power
delivery really makes more sense, and I'm sick of people going with Qualcomm Quick Charge. But
once Thunderbolt goes open source open availability next year, everything should be Thunderbolt with power delivery. Everyone else that doesn't do that is dumb.
It really is, and it's just Qualcomm strong-arming people is probably what it would end up being.
100% what it is.
And that's what Qualcomm loves to do. That's part of how they dominate the market, and it's frustrating because they use their power and their patents to strong-arm companies. That's not cool. That messes with the free
Google's
market.
going to make their own chips.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, hey, that's why Apple makes their own chips.
Yeah.
You know.
Apple designs their own chips.
Sorry, you know what I mean.
Samsung makes their own
Google
chips.
doesn't manufacture their own chips. They're partnering with somebody, probably Global Foundries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, AMD uses Global Foundries. Nvidia's got TSMC. You know, like, yeah, those are fabs, right? I get
Good job, Intel, at one thing.
I just thought it'd be really funny if Apple's designed silicon was manufactured in Intel fabs.
Yeah. I mean, they're using some Intel stuff now.
Yeah,
they're trying to get away from Qualcomm.
Oh, I know, because they're sick of it. And they're sick of them strong-arming the market. And who to kick back on the person strong-arming than Apple, right? You know, it's like, we're the biggest in the industry. You need to stop it. No. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Stop.
Yeah.
So, I do appreciate that about them, I will admit. So, Primitive asks, is it going to be shit? No, I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Probably.
The product itself. I don't know if you're referring to the Zotac or if you're referring to the AMD 400 series chipsets. But yes, he spelled shit as in the company that I've done reviews on. I have their audio products. They do high-end amps and DACs and stuff like that. So it's spelled SCHIIT. They make amazing products. I'll actually have more reviews of their stuff coming up soon. But yeah, it's definitely shit, you know? Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let's see here. Next topic's pretty simple. I don't know if you heard about this, the Nvidia driver stuff. So Nvidia is ending 32-bit driver support for their GPUs. Just basically as simple as that. With driver 390 that's going to be coming out, they're just done. No more 32-bit support. You're stuck at 390. That's it. For the notes in here, I put makes sense. Duh. Because realistically, you need to be on 64-bit now. We don't need people on 32-bit, and if you're trying to game on an Nvidia GPU that's not forever old, you're probably on a 64-bit system because you probably should be using and are using more than 4 gigabytes of RAM.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you should be on a 64-bit operating system.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense, and I don't mind Nvidia kind of making the push to go to 64-bit. It's the same thing like when Google Chrome decided that we're not going to support Flash anymore. Push out the old stuff that sucks, right? And so I don't mind Nvidia doing this at all. I think it's, you know, there's a few people that are going to be up in flames about it.
iOS doesn't support 32-bit anymore either.
That's right, exactly. There's a few people that'll be up in flames about it, but I think it's a good move, honestly. So,
however, I'm going to counter with a bad move from Nvidia, which I initially thought was a good move. The driver situation.
They're bringing back 32-bit support
now.
No.
The driver situation in the data center. So, me and him had talked about this earlier.
Yeah, we didn't put this in the notes, but...
Per NVIDIA's new end-user license agreement, you can't use GeForce... essentially GeForce drivers, which means any graphics cards that use those, pretty much all GeForce. However, there is one exception, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
To a card that does use GTX drivers, but is not labeled that.
Yes.
So this means that essentially, if you want to do something like deep learning, this is going to be the key thing as to why it's a bad move. You can't use consumer grade or just in general any GTX graphics cards for that. And despite the fact that they may be way cheaper, if you can get them to perform somewhat comparably,
it makes more sense financially for the data centers. But also, gamers get pissed.
Yes. However, there's an exception for blockchain where you can buy NVIDIA gaming graphics cards for mining, which to me indicates that this is not about protecting gamers.
Yeah, yes.
And this happens...
Because the biggest grab for them is the cryptocurrencies.
Yes. And this change only happens to come after the Titan V is released, which, while not a GTX graphics card, uses GTX drivers. What is this graphics card optimized for? Deep learning.
Deep learning, data center usage in
Yes.
specific.
And what is the next most comparable Volta card cost? $8,000 versus the $3,000.
And this applies to the Titan.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's what the drivers are. Therefore, the Titan V.
I'm going to put on my rant hat here real quick. Because Nvidia, why do you keep fucking up the Titan? Well, it's not just money. They just don't understand what they're doing with that card.
No, they do. It's
so okay. So you've got the original Titan that comes out. Now, the original Titan was the only one that made some sense. It was very expensive. It performed very good in games. It also performed very good in floating point 32 operations, which means it was good for workstation use because it performed a lot better. We're talking like I think it was half performance for the double precision floating point 32 operations versus 1/32 performance on the regular GeForce gaming graphics cards. So it actually made a lot of sense in a lot of ways for workstation use. Okay, it was expensive. What's up? Did you have something to say?
You keep going. I have something I'll say.
All right.
Again.
So it's like okay, cool. Then they come out with the Titan Black Edition. It's faster, a little bit better, and it's, if I remember correctly, the Titan Black, wasn't it the one where they removed the floating point operation, the double precision being as good? I think it was the Titan Black, meaning at that point it was just a gaming card, and it was under the GeForce label at the time. Both the Titans were, right? So gotta. Okay, so it was no longer good for most workstation tasks. It just had a heck of a lot of VRAM, which did help, but it didn't have good floating point 32 performance. Okay, so at this point it was a gaming card. Okay, it was expensive, overpriced. It performed really well. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was just kind of like, it's lame because it's not what you told us it originally was, which was a hybrid card, which made sense because there was nothing filling the gap between your $700 card and your $5,000 card. So it made sense to have something in the middle there, especially as game development blows up. It makes sense to have a card that is very good at gaming and workstation use and has drivers that are actually optimized for gaming, because like Quadro cards can game, but their drivers aren't really built for it, so they don't do it as well as they could for their architecture. Okay, they don't put the effort into that.
And
it makes sense.
You don't get things like game ready optimization.
Exactly, and those are things that you want as a game developer. So it made sense. Then they pull this shit with the Titan Z. Okay, where they come out with, oh hi, this is the Titan Z. We took the PCB from the Titan Black, we made it a little bit longer, and we threw another Titan Black on there, $1,000 card. We then charged $3,000 for it. Okay, so it was literally SLI'd Titan Blacks, but you had to pay an extra $500 per chip, even though it was actually cheaper to manufacture than two separate Titan Blacks, because you're one heatsink, one fan, one plastic shroud, one set of ports, and one PCB. Okay, so that was the worst offender of all, I felt like. Then we got the Titan XP. Sorry, we got the Titan X. Then we have the Titan X, okay? And the Titan X was a pretty good card. It was even more overpriced, and it still didn't have the floating point 32 operations, but it was still under the GeForce brand, so it was thought of as a gaming card, whereas the Titan X, the Titan Z was also under the GeForce branding. So the GeForce branding is for gaming, right? So it was still, in a sense, considered a gaming card. It wasn't in its own market segment like it had originally been said it was its own market segment, okay? So you've got... It was under GeForce originally, actually. Sorry. So the original one was also, but people complain because it's like, why are you calling it a GeForce card with GeForce branding when it's not for gaming? It's for workstation use. Okay. So going back to the Titan X, it was still a good performer. It was a beast of a GPU. We thought they were going to start this trend of, okay, we'll release the best that we can possibly put out, but you've got to pay a premium for it because our bins aren't that good from TSMC right now. Then you get the 1080 Ti, slightly lower performance when it comes to the same clock speeds, but they were able to bin it better so they can sell it for a better price. Okay, then they come out with the Titan XP. And sorry, I meant 980 Ti, not 1080 Ti. But then they come out with the Titan XP. But they called it the Titan X because they were afraid to name it something else for whatever fucking reason. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just it was the same thing as the Titan, the original Titan X, just Pascal.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty much. Though, I wanted to bring up, a lot of tech companies were just bad at naming that year. Because that was also when we got the new Razer Blade.
Razer was a huge offender of that. So, So it was just kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But people were like, whatever. Just please, Nvidia, stop branding it as a GeForce card was the complaint. And in fact, an example, full credit goes to him, Jay's 2 cents was complaining when the Titan XP came out. Well, what we dubbed the Titan XP, the Titan X Pascal, because he asked for one and they said, no, we won't give you one. It's not a gaming card. Then why does it have GeForce branding? Why does it use the GeForce drivers? Why does it have game-ready drivers? And why does it say it's great at gaming? Get your stuff straight, okay? But it got better because then Nvidia released the Titan XP, the Titan XP, almost as a statement is, you don't change the name of something that we wanted to call that. So now we have the Titan XP, the Titan X Pascal, and the Titan XPP, which is the Titan XP Pascal, as I called it, okay? Same thing, GeForce drivers, blah, blah, blah. We'll get into that. Then we get the Titan V. Finally, when the Titan V first launched, I was like, okay, they finally figured it out. It has a different color to very clearly differentiate itself from the gaming segment and wouldn't look good in most gaming PCs. It performs pretty good at games, but it's very, very, very expensive. It has the Tensor Core processors. They brought back the 1/2 double precision performance, and they dropped the GeForce branding. So it was Titan. It was a third or a fourth segment. So you've got GeForce, you've got well, I guess you have the GT, the baseline stuff.
Yeah.
You've got GeForce, you've got Titan, you've got Quadro, and you've got Tesla. Okay, Tesla being no graphics display output. Then they pull this, as you just said, where the Titan V advertised for workstations and for data centers. You know,
well, it's not advertised for data centers.
For
it's
machine
literally
learning.
meant for. It's designed to be the V100, but for people that aren't putting it in servers. That was how they advertised it. It's like because the Tesla V100 is literally for data center purpose. That's what it was made for.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
This is meant to stick.
This
in
is more for
computer.
devs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
However, the problem is this card is very powerful for the price for deep learning.
Yes.
And so, if I just want to buy this card, I should be able to just buy this card
and use it for whatever you want. Yeah.
Bring back compute neutrality.
Yeah, right. And so Nvidia is basically here saying, well, we make this chip for $500. We're gonna charge $9,000 or what? Wait, sorry. What is the price of the V100? Is it
$8,000?
$8,000 for this, because we can make lots of profit. Then we're gonna charge $3,000 for gamers, and it's the exact same thing with a little less VRAM. But oh no, you can't use that in the data centers. And it's like, what? It's the same thing.
Also, what happens to the people that bought cards like this, or just any GeForce cards, and are using them in data centers for things like maybe VMs?
Right.
It'll be fine for now. Realistically, they don't need to update their drivers right away.
But
eventually, when libraries come around that give dramatically different performance, new CUDA libraries that new applications will require, things like that, and they have to update, data centers are the one place where people actually care about the EULA. Because that's where they'll get sued.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's frustrating. And so to give an analogy here, basically Nvidia was like, hey, we make this mouse pad. This is SteelSeries mouse pad, okay? We make this mouse pad here, okay? And we sell it with 2 logos for $100. We make it for like $1. Okay? Right? Now we're going to release this mouse pad with 1 logo, okay? And we're going to sell it for $150.
Yes.
Sorry, not $150, sorry, $50, right? That'd be more like $25, okay? Yeah, like $25. Oh, but if you do work on your mouse pad that makes you money, your mouse being used makes you money, you have to buy the one with the 2 logos.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
This frustrates
in
me.
software form.
Yeah, it's just that's the physical
it's
analogy.
the drivers.
Right. It's the drivers. The reason I was getting at though is because what I was using the analogy of the 2 logos for is because VRAM is the only difference between them. And I'm sorry, but a couple gigs of HBM2 doesn't cost $6,000.
Yeah. So write your own drivers.
Right.
I guess.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
I'd be mad if I was a data center user, even more so.
If they didn't exempt blockchain, I could see how they could have justified this as we're just trying to ensure that we keep gamer stock, especially with the rumors of Ampere.
Yeah, right. Which,
the
rumors of Ampere, actually, from what I'm understanding and some little hints that I've gotten from other like reviewers, the way that they've talked in videos and stuff, I won't say who, but people that I've seen, I have a feeling that there's some people that already maybe understand what it is. And Ampere is Volta. It's just going to be called Ampere because it's without tensor cores. It's a different chip in a way.
I'm also wondering if it's not going to have HBM.
I'm wondering too.
Because the key thing with Volta when Nvidia was doing their roadmap a while back was high bandwidth memory.
Yes.
HBM is Volta and HBM are supposed to be it's supposed to be part of it. If it doesn't have
and they've
HBM,
advertised it that way, and they could actually get sued.
Yeah.
Maybe not but they could get sued.
Yeah. So I think Ampere's
and
probably
it's still
just
going to
be
cost them legal money.
Volta design minus HBM.
Which, and that's my thought too. Minus HBM, no tensor cores. Yeah. And obviously less VRAM.
And so for anyone doing this for compute purposes, but that doesn't need it for the tensor cores and specifically the AI stuff.
Yeah.
Ampere would be a perfect card.
But now they can't.
Yeah, not in a data center. Suck it. Also, what constitutes a data center? Because their EULA doesn't clarify.
Now that's a good point.
I don't have a data center. I just have a computer with lots of, or a room with lots of computers.
Room with lots of computers that have lots of data.
Yeah.
But it's not a center.
No, they're not centered.
They're
on the outsides.
It's a data warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, yeah. There you go. You're out of it. You're good to go. Oh no, it's just and you legally classify it as a data warehouse. I own a data warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a new term, but whatever. And I mean, realistically, you'd probably
if they can change that whenever they want, we can change our name.
Yeah, exactly. Because this isn't cool, and especially for somebody like data centers that maybe don't need the highest end cards. Mm-hmm. Now they're screwed into buying the more expensive cards that they don't necessarily. And I don't just mean involving tensor cores or involving HBM. I'm talking what if a solid amount of 1060s does it for you? Mm-hmm. That's the most cost-effective way, right? For your particular situation. You have perfect parallel scaling or something like that, right? You can't.
And
you're done.
What if a company wants to build a GeForce Now competitor?
Ooh, that's a really good thought.
They can't. Yeah, you pretty much because you
can't because you're a data center at that point.
Yeah, and you can't use GeForce drivers, meaning you can't get game optimization. Meaning if you buy a 1080 Ti, it's gonna not perform like a 1080 Ti. Or if you buy a very very high end, much more expensive than a 1080 Ti card, it's not gonna perform the same as a 1080 Ti.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to spend way more money to get less performance.
And you're not gonna get the driver optimization, so you're gonna have to build your own drivers.
Yeah,
that's terrible. That's actually something I didn't think of. That's a monopolistic move, and that's not cool. That's not cool. That's anti-competitive. And whether Nvidia sees it or not, that is anti-competitive.
Yeah,
and that bothers me. And that they could actually that aspect of it they could actually get sued over.
Only once there's no competitors left.
True, right. But it's an anti-competitive practice because at that point, actually, you know what that would do? So this will either, I think in the long term, result in a lawsuit if there's some, specifically with a GeForce Now competitor thing.
Yeah.
Or people are going to figure out how to do it with AMD, and AMD is going to make a lot of money.
I mean, AMD needs to capitalize on this hard.
They do. And the thing is, AMD is usually fairly good about that because they're always been the company about being more open about stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
AMD needs to come out swinging on this.
I agree. They need to come out and be like, hey, I mean, we don't do it.
Especially with the launch of their next graphics card.
Yeah.
They need to be you can use this for what you want to use this for.
No matter what. You bought this card.
We want gamers to have this card, but if you buy it, it's your decision what you use it with.
Yeah.
On top of that, if companies want to do game streaming with this,
you're good to go. You purchased this product to do this thing. You don't go purchase a car engine. You don't go purchase a V8 with 600 horsepower. And then, you're not allowed to use it in a car with 6 wheels. It has to be a car with 4 wheels.
Yeah.
Because we said so. Otherwise, you have to buy the special version of the V8 that supports 6 wheels.
Or we sell this car, but you can only use it for Uber and not Lyft.
Right. Exactly. That's an even better analogy. And so it's that's... That frustrates me a lot. That actually really bothers me, and that's unfair and ridiculous. So AMD would be like, no, you can just use it for whatever you want. You bought this thing that does performance. You can use that performance for whatever you want. It's out of our hands once you buy our product. We'll do driver support because that's part of the competition there for games. But whatever you want to use it with, you use it for. Oh boy, that is a rant. That is a big rant there. But that frustrates me a lot. That actually makes me really mad.
Yeah, and when I first heard about it before I read into it, I was like, okay, I guess they're trying to protect gamers.
When you first told me, it didn't sound like a big deal. I was like, okay, whatever, not a huge deal.
It's
but
completely fucked.
That's not cool at all. That actually makes me really mad.
Yeah, I think that I have a feeling it's just because they didn't want Titan Vs to get sold for data center use.
I mean, and that could be. And
But
honestly,
it has a lot more ramifications than I think that...
Right.
Not that necessarily
actually,
they realize. I think it's more than they just wanted people to find out about.
That's true. Or what this could potentially be hinting at. There is the potential for this to be hinting at the Titan V being very slim profit margins. Maybe Volta is really that expensive to produce. And if Volta is that expensive to produce, so will Ampere. Unless HBM is the primary source of that, which I don't think it is. Instead of Ampere. So, meaning Ampere will probably be more expensive like you had originally predicted. We're probably looking at like $1,200 for the top card.
Yeah.
And probably no SLI support would be my guess. If they're going to charge that much for a card, I mean, it supposedly is going to perform as good as it is, they're not going to probably support SLI. Which, really, for me, is an aesthetics thing. I like the look of 4 GPUs in a system still.
Yeah.
But,
get 4 GPUs and
just get 4 GPUs. Yeah, and just use one for gaming, and the other 3 could be used for
Nope, that's a
rendering.
Data center.
The other 3 could be used for rendering, for optimization for Premiere Pro or whatever. But
it sounds like a data center to me. I don't know about you guys.
That's probably a data center.
Leave a
comment
I'm
building
if you think
a free
Ethan
NAS.
should get sued for using his graphics card as a data center.
Well, I'm running AMD right now, so it's okay.
AMD, change your EULA to sue them.
So change your EULA.
If name equals Ethan,
then equals Sue. Yeah. So I'm going to be building a free NAS in like January, February, right? So if that's a center where all my data is that a data center?
Yes.
So I can't use an Nvidia graphics card in that.
You are sued.
Yeah, I need to use an Intel or an AMD graphics card. Yeah, and see, the thing is,
Intel better come out swinging with this too.
Yeah, although Intel's GPUs aren't going to be ready for like 3 or 4 years.
I don't care. Intel needs to be like when
our GPUs eventually come out, we won't do that thing.
Exactly.
Great. Where are you on track on your GPUs? We don't even know.
Yeah.
We told Raja, here's money, make something, come back in a year.
Raja should be the one to comment.
And be like, that's not cool, bro.
I've never even once thought that graphics cards should be limited on what you can do with them based off of where you use them.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I definitely still don't think that now, so...
And again, this could point at Volta being an incredibly expensive architecture. Which, if it is, wouldn't surprise me, because Nvidia, as we talked about before, one of the good things about them is they do tend to throw their money back into their company fairly well.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money, but they dump a lot of money into R&D. And so, maybe that's what it hints at, but that's also not good.
Yeah.
So, has their stock taken a hit because of this? Or
a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, nothing significant though. 30 cents,
yeah.
0.14%, not much that matters. Okay, so next subject is actually NVIDIA related too, and this is one interesting. Just gonna be quiet. You know what? No, we're done. Sorry, podcast over. Daniel sneezed. From now on, the podcast is just gonna go until you sneeze.
Okay. That's
you. So NVIDIA is, in theory, it's not 100% confirmed, but it seems to be, so many sources are reporting on it, it seems to be pretty likely, that they might be releasing a new version of the 1060. Say what? There's already 2 versions of the 1060.
Oh, this is...
This is interesting. So there's already 2 versions of the 1060. There is the 1060 6GB, which has 12,080 CUDA cores, and then there's the 1060 3GB, which has, let me find how many CUDA cores. I think it's 940 is what I want to say, but I could be wrong. So I'm going to find out here. Or I'm not going to find out here. Okay, I'm going to find out here, I think. Is it not going to tell me?
Probably not. What's going on?
I'm trying to find out how many CUDA cores are in the 3GB 1060. Enough, right, enough. Okay, there we go, found it. So the CUDA cores for the 1060 6GB, like I said, is 1280, whereas the 1060 3GB is 1152. Okay, so it's a little closer than I thought. Now this one is a 1060 5GB card, and interestingly enough, it has 1280 CUDA cores, which makes it so it sounds like it's just a 1066 gig, but with 5 gigs of VRAM, and that is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Now, what's weird here, so this is, in theory, is only going to be sold to the Asia-Pacific market, and it's specifically going to be for, like, gaming cafes.
In China.
Right? Cyber cafes in China, Taiwan, right? So, it kind of makes sense. The idea is to make it cheaper because the bulk pricing could add up. So they take away a gig of VRAM, which could potentially even be like there's 6 gigs on there, but some of it, the yields were bad, right? And so they're like buying up the not so good yield VRAM from Samsung or whatever. I can't remember who sources Nvidia's VRAM, but whoever's sourcing it, you know, they're buying up some of the stuff that wasn't been so well and saying, hey, we can just make another GPU out of this with 5 gigs, just disable a gig of it. Or maybe it's a 5.5 gig of VRAM card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No, it's 4.5.
4.5. Sorry, 4.5. Why did I say 5.5? Yeah, it's 4.5 gigs of VRAM. No. So it'll probably perform, in majority of situations, it'll perform identically to a 1060. Like, you won't even be able to tell the difference. A 1060, a 6 gigabyte, that is. And it'll still perform better than a 1060 3 gigabyte. Of course, higher resolutions in games that really are, like, hogs of memory will probably, you know, push it. But at the same time, I feel like with a 1060, the games you're playing at the settings you're playing them at, you're probably not going to be using more than 5 gigs of VRAM. Mm-hmm. Like, 4 gigs is pushing it. There are some games that will go over that, as we've talked about before, like Titanfall will. But 5 gigs is about where you should be at 1080p anyway. But no consumer purchases. So that's the important part here, is this is going to be specifically for like cyber cafes. You won't be able to go out and buy this card, again, in theory. Which realistically, I don't think it would matter, because saving like $10 on a card, right? Yeah. Like, nobody's going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to buy the 1060 5 gigabyte for, you know, $111 instead of the 6 gigabyte for $120. You know, like, nobody's going to do that. Like, I can't see somebody being that much of a penny pincher when buying a fairly high-end GPU.
If anything, you would just wait for a minor sale.
Right, you'd wait for a minor sale, you'd look for a rebate, or you'd just buy, like, a 1050 Ti if you really needed to save money that bad, right? Yeah. So I don't think it would make sense for them to release it to the consumer market anyway. But for a cyber cafe, it's like, we need 600 GPUs. Oh, yeah, well, here's, you know, $5 off each one. Deal. Thank you. Deal. Right? You know, and it's like, well, what's different about it? It'll perform basically the same. It's got 5 gigs of RAM. Okay, cool. Saves us money. Yeah. You know, people use it. It increases our profit margins slightly because we get return on investment really, like, you know, a little bit quicker. It might be a day quicker, but it's enough to matter. So, I like it. I think it's cool. All right. So the next topic is another one that I wrote about on the site, including that GPU actually was as well. So GDDR6 production is confirmed. Now, this is actually directly from Micron is where I got the information for this. So it's from Micron's blog talking about what their plans are. So GDDR6 is going to be replacing GDDR5X, and the idea is to be using this instead of HBM because HBM is not necessarily necessary for gaming GPUs right now, although I have a feeling AMD is going to stick to HBM because they pushed it so hard in the past, but maybe they finally learned with Vega that's what's been killing them, you know, is they haven't been able to produce enough because HBM can't keep up. But then again, them making cards and buying cards with it helps boost the production of it. So anyway, Micron is the only producer in the world, as far as I know, of GDDR5X right now, which is used on the top-end GPUs. There's also GDDR5 that's made by various different manufacturers. And from what I understand, they're going to be the first one to be making GDDR6. So they're going to be going into production in 2018, like full production run, first half of 2018. They're actually going to be making a consistent amount of these that could be used in GPUs and stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if around like Computex time, we see some GPUs saying, hey, this is going to have GDDR6 in it. Because if they're doing full production runs in the first half of 2018, that means they'll have a stockpile of it, right? So they probably already have deals of who's going to be buying it.
When are we expecting Ampere?
Ampere, we're not really sure. So if Nvidia sticks to the standard cycle, we're looking at March.
Okay.
But they might release Ampere, the lower end stuff, like they've done before with GDDR5X.
Yeah.
And then release higher end Ampere, maybe or 2 cards this time instead, like the like let's say the 1180 Ti and like an 1180.
Or like let's say they do 1180 and 1170 with GDDR5X, and then the ties with GDDR6.
That could be that's an example that could work. Or they might even do like a an 1190 this time, but it'll be a single GPU, not a dual like it has been with the 690. So there's a lot of options that they could do to play around with it. Now, it starts off at 12 gigabits per second or 14 gigabits per second are the capabilities of these GDDR6 chips speed-wise. Now, 12 gigabits per second is the top end of what GDDR5X can hit, which is anywhere from 10 to 12 gigabits per second. So this is faster. It actually starts at the top of the previous and can go up to 14. But the idea is later, I think they were talking about second half of 2018. Maybe we're going to see first half 2019 being able to do production runs of 16 gigabit per second, which is a pretty substantial improvement over the 10 to 12 that you get from 5X.
Yeah. How does this compare to HBM?
So that here, let me do some research while you move on to the next topic. Let me get back to you on that because HBM is a little bit hard sometimes to classify speed directly.
Okay. Also, did you figure out screen capping? Because we're getting close to that one.
I unfortunately cannot do that without making the screen and mic go black. Go mute for a minute.
Oh, I mean, we'll just do it when we get to that then.
Yeah, yeah.
So this next topic is about Instagram ruining their feed again.
Which they've already done before.
Yeah. So when Instagram launched, it was great. You went on there and you had a chronological view of your timeline of the photos the people you follow posted. So if you check it now and then you check it a few hours later, you'll see the post from a few hours later first, and then you'll get to the post from now. And then a while back they decided to change things so that whatever they think you'll like the most will be at the top.
That moment when you go to a site and it runs slow and actually makes your computer work hard because there's so many ads on it.
Gotta make that money. Hey, they could just do crypto and ads.
I'm looking at you guys, Tweaktown. You guys do great content, but I don't need to see 15 ads when I go to your site. Take note from WordTech. We have 3 ads on our site. They're Google ads. They load like that. They don't slow down anything. I literally had my fan speed increase because there were so many ads. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
So Instagram ruined their feed by essentially throwing everything out of chronological order. I've had times where 3 days in a row, the first 5 posts were the same.
Right. Okay.
Surefire way to make it so I don't want to go on
I hate
Instagram.
that. A chronological order is the way to do that.
Yes. At the very least, give me a goddamn option to go to that.
Yeah, I completely
I get why you're wanting to put them in the order of what you think they'll engage with most because you can make more ad money from that.
Right.
But if it's to the point where I no longer want to use your service because of it, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Give me the option, please. Well, now they're making it worse, far worse in my opinion, because not just now are they doing recommendations as far as how they prioritize your feed, but it's no longer including just people you follow. They are now going to put any recommended posts for you in your feed.
Yep.
And they already have a dedicated page for this. They're just now putting it into your feed. The dedicated page for recommended posts for me is horrible.
Yep.
I rarely see posts that I like. I follow a lot of celebrities from movies and TV shows that I watch regularly because I like to get first time something comes out I can watch it.
Yeah,
I follow this.
Although it's a problem when it's not in chronological order, so they post something and it's less popular than something else, so you don't see it for a week.
Exactly. Another example. So I follow I'm going to unfollow them, especially now because I'm going to start getting this crap in my feed. I follow the Flash TV Instagram account just because they post previews of the trailers and stuff on there. And that was the one I was complaining about where for multiple days I saw the same post.
Right.
Where I was seeing posts for their crossover event for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Well, also, anytime now pretty much that I go to the recommended page, because for some reason, yes, I like the show, but it seems to think I'm that's all I care about in my life anymore.
Right.
Is half the time my feed is just filled with Olicity shippers for some reason.
Yep.
It's so annoying. I stopped using that page completely. I'm going to unfollow them now, and I'm probably going to stop using Instagram.
And I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like the idea of it a lot.
Facebook was going to ruin it when they bought it in the first place, right? So it's oh boy, it's frustrating. So I'm trying to find out some more info right now on
While you do that, good night, Primitive. He said have a good night. So.
Oh, okay. Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good night. Sleep good. Thank you for following. Thank you for saying you enjoyed the stream. All right. See, so and by the way, the bandwidth I was talking about with GDDR6 was per pin bandwidth, so that's something important to keep in mind. I'm trying to find some more info on direct overall bandwidth. From what I'm understanding so far, once we hit the 16 gigabits per pin that GDDR6 is going to be capable of, it beats HBM2.
Ooh.
But HBM2 has lots of other advantages.
Yeah, I know.
As in, it's smaller, so they can put it on the die, which is really convenient when you're looking at 12 gigabytes of VRAM that is surrounding it on the PCB, and then that's more stuff to cool on the PCB. It also uses less power, which is important.
What if we see HBM shift to mobile, and just stay at desktop level?
That would be interesting. Although HBM3 is going to be a thing. And that will probably supersede GDDR6 performance-wise. Because HBM makes a lot of sense. And this kind of seems like the... and
the terabytes per second thing.
Yeah. So HBM makes more sense. I think long-term it's going to be the way we go as an industry. But it's harder to manufacture right now, especially right now. And SK Hynix is the only one that makes it as far as I understand. I don't think anybody else has the capability of manufacturing HBM. And GDDR will probably eventually go away. But right now it's kind of a toss-up. But it feels to me a little bit like the like Intel when they're, going back and forth between, well, we can't really die shrink much more. I think we're at the limits of what, GDDR, standard DRAM is going to be capable of, speed-wise, and realistically, the capacity-wise that you can fit on a single board. What's up?
So Samsung is working on HBM.
Okay,
they are working
I knew
on
they were
HBM3.
working on it, but they don't actually make it yet.
They are also working on low-cost HBM, which is going to be it's going to be about 200 gigabytes per second bandwidth.
Right, and that's
so
total, not per pin. What I was talking about was per pin.
It's not as good as HBM2, but it's not realistically super far off.
Right.
So if it's cheaper, they're saying they aren't saying what the cost is, but it's supposed to be less. Is literally their cost example. So HBM is just labeled as cost per gigabyte 1. HBM's cost per gigabyte is 0.x. So it could be anything. It's just going to be cheaper.
That would make sense to put in phones, though.
Yeah.
Low cost HBM, better, more power saving. Every little bit of power saving you can get in a phone.
So what I want
substantially.
Is HBM and Thunderbolt in my phones.
Question.
Yes.
While I don't disagree at all, why Thunderbolt? Why do you need that much bandwidth in your phone?
It's not necessarily the bandwidth. I want one connector that actually does everything, and it should be in every device. There's no reason not to. It won't cost them a dime.
Okay, while that's true, I guess what I would say is the internals of phones already can't keep up with the speeds of USB 3.1 Gen 2.
Yes.
So that wasn't Thunderbolt wouldn't be.
My point was we should just get rid of USB 3.1. Everything should just be Thunderbolt. There's no reason not to when Intel actually
USB is still once Intel opens.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Once Intel opens it up, everything should just be that.
And USB maybe should fade away.
Yes.
And I don't.
Or at least the C design.
Yeah. Well, the C design would just be Thunderbolt, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be USB types or USB 3.1 Gen 1 and USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type C. There should just be Thunderbolt.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Apple could use Thunderbolt on
there is also a
iPads.
USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type C.
Yes. There's USB 2 Type C. Type C is just a connector.
Yeah, I know. Right. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying we should stop using Type C for everything else. Everything that is Type C should just be Thunderbolt 3.
Yeah.
It's better?
I don't disagree, and I think USB hasn't been impressive when it comes to being able to keep up, right?
Also.
And USB faded away FireWire, right?
Yes.
And so maybe it's time for USB to take a
Well,
take
Android doesn't have it. NVMe is a thing on some phones that are made by an Apple company.
This is true, and I'm really hoping that the next round of Android phones has it.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that the Galaxy S9 starts that trend. Please.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find out a little bit more. So it's really hard to find memory bandwidth specifications because you can have bandwidth per pin, you can have bandwidth per chip, you can have total bandwidth when putting it all together. So it's really hard to find out how fast is this specific thing, right? So I haven't been able to find a whole bunch of data on it, unfortunately. But again, from my understanding, is HBM2 is going to be slightly slower than the fastest specification for GDDR6. But by the time that comes out, we'll probably have HBM3 from SK Hynix and potentially Samsung. So, let's see. I'm finding another article here. HBM3 improves on blah 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 blah. Higher capacity, blah 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 blah. So it'll be at least 512 gigabytes per second per package on tap for HBM3, up from 256 gigabytes per second. So a doubling there, although I'm not seeing in specific how that compares to GDDR6.
More specifically, HBM3 is supposed to be greater than 2x, not just 2x.
Right, that's correct. That's correct. But at least 2x, I should say. Yeah, and that's going to be the minimum.
Yeah. What's going to be even more important, I feel like, is going to be the height, and essentially meaning the amount of storage they can fit per module.
Right.
That is what I'm more impressed with.
That's the impressive part. Yeah, that's the big thing. And also the speed per pin is a little bit weird. So per pin is a really, I think, a really bad way to put it, because pins can vary. But like the HBM2 speed per pin is 3 gigabits per second versus the speed per pin on GDDR6 is 12 to 14 gigabits per second. But obviously, we already know that GDDR5X is slower than HBM2 but has a faster per pin speed. So, yeah, that's a little bit frustrating there. And I also feel like companies need to learn to please, article writers, get straight the difference between a gigabyte and a gigabit. Because I get really frustrated when somebody says something like, oh, well, these do 256 gigabytes per second per die, and these do 200 gigabits per second per die. That's talking about the same product, and it's like, no, those are completely different numbers. Please make sure you capitalize if you need to.
Yeah.
Because I get really confused, because like when Micron was talking about it, do they mean gigabytes per second? Because if they mean gigabytes per second, that changes it. But they specifically listed gigabits per second is what they talked about.
For the bandwidth you're talking about?
For the bandwidth, yeah, 16
bandwidth
gigabits.
is measured in gigabits.
Yeah, it is. But some people measure overall bandwidth per die in gigabytes.
But they're talking about the like clock speed of the...
I know, so I assume Micron knows what they're talking about, yeah. But
I would hope so.
I mean, yeah, please. But it's just frustrating to me when people get those mixed up. Okay, so after doing research on that and finding absolutely zero answers, let's move on to the next topic. Also, do we have any comments? I want to make sure. We're good. We're good. All right. So,
Nintendo...
This is interesting.
...has delayed their 64 gig Switch cartridges until 2019.
Not SD cards.
Correct.
Cartridges.
Yeah.
Please make sure you understand that, because you can already put... I have a 256 gig micro SD in my Switch, right?
So right now, when you buy a Switch cartridge...
I have 2 games for.
The cartridges can go up to 32 gigs in size.
Right. 32 gigabytes.
Yes. Gigs.
Okay.
They can go up to 32 gigs in size. They were expecting second half of next year to have the 64 gigabyte versions ready. And this would allow for manufacturers to put out larger games easier.
Right.
Not so much a problem for Nintendo, because they make their games just for the Switch. They can optimize just for that. They know how to make textures just for that platform. But when you have games from third-party companies, like when you have NBA 2K18, which has to have all the way up to 4K textures, and they don't want to make dedicated Switch textures, they're just going to downscale them.
Right.
But they take pretty close to the same size, because they're just putting the same textures on and having the system.
It's frustrating, and they're delayed till 2019, right?
And so...
And that's like...
What's
that's
happening...
frustrating for because by that time, the Switch is going to start being a little outdated.
Yeah.
You know, by like mid-2018 when these might be out. That's a little...
I mean, they're already a little outdated.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at is even further, though, is like, that's a little bit frustrating.
But when you look at, like, so let's look at a game like Doom.
Yes.
If you buy the Doom cartridge, you only get the single player on cartridge. You have to download the multiplayer. That's multiple gigs download.
Yeah.
When you look at something like NBA, that can be like a 20 gig download on top of the cartridge.
And when you look at the fact that Ajit Pai just repealed net neutrality, that can be a problem.
Yeah. And when you look at the fact that data caps exist, that can be a problem before net neutrality.
This is true. This is true.
But when we're looking at like 20 gig downloads, like the reason a lot of people still buy cartridges, other than the people that want to collect them, is that they don't want to have to download them. Or they live in an area where they can't get good download speed. Think about the people in Australia.
Yeah, otherwise you might as well just download it onto an SD card.
If you live in Australia, you're not buying NBA 2K18 on the Switch. Or at all.
You're done.
Yeah, you're buying it on PS4. You're not taking it with you.
For you.
So, yeah, this is starting to upset. Like, developers are going to be upset by this more than anyone.
Yeah.
Obviously, for consumers, we get annoyed by having to download things, but like developers are like, this impacts our sales.
Yeah.
This impacts our money.
And it's not cool. And it's frustrating because why is it a problem, Nintendo, when you can fit 512 gigabytes in an SD card size space?
I'm wondering how they make their cartridges, because they're stating it's a technical issue that's causing it.
So either that's made up or something weird's going on.
Or they're just bad at designing cartridges because they haven't done that in a long time.
And that could be. Although I wonder who they're partnering with. Because I'm assuming the actual, like, obviously the NAND isn't manufactured in-house.
No, so, the NAND might not be, but whatever else they're doing might be.
It might be. And that's frustrating, though, because, like, Nintendo, you can't keep delaying stuff with your Switch. It's an incredible console and sold a lot, but part of the reason that it sold a lot is promises that you made. Yeah. And breaking those promises isn't cool.
I'm also wondering if the technical issue isn't so much actually a technical issue as it is a price issue, because 32 gig cartridges are already apparently very expensive.
You know, that wouldn't surprise me, considering the price hike that we're having with all NAND-based stuff. Whoever they're sourcing from has probably had prices go up. So that actually makes sense to me. But it still sucks.
It's developed by Nintendo, SanDisk, and Micronix.
Okay. Interesting.
So you'd think SanDisk would be able to figure it out if it wasn't a serious issue.
SanDisk makes 512 gig SD cards.
Yeah.
So they would know how. So it's Nintendo's fault at that point.
Yeah, there's something else going on.
Yeah.
But that being said, you'd think that...
Or maybe the price really is just too high.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you'd think that SanDisk or Nintendo could just be like, we've got lots of money. Yo, SanDisk, fix it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or even in that case, like, hey, we're Nintendo, we made this promise that these would be out. Hey, we're going to lose a little bit of money, a few cents per cartridge, by selling them at the same price as the 32 gigabyte version to developers. But we're going to do it anyway, and we're going to eat that cost because the Switch has sold better than anything ever. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the Switch was selling so good that they stopped selling other products, like the Classic Series stuff, to manufacture more Switches, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, but this sucks.
It does suck. I also wanted to give a shout out. People might be wondering the shirt I'm wearing. Yeah, that's a Linux Penguin, courtesy of Epic Pants. I bought this from them. They didn't give it to me or anything, but Epic Pants is the store for Tech Syndicate. They're another YouTube channel. They do great work, so you guys should totally check them out. Just doing a plug because they're cool. I don't know them. I don't talk to them personally. I'm not doing it because I'm their friend, but I bought their shirt. They have a lot of cool products on their site, and they're really smart people, so you guys should check them out.
Yeah.
That's where the shirt came from.
I am now more certain than ever that it is
the
cost.
Price?
Yeah,
Okay.
because for reference, in Japan, Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 costs more on the Switch than on the PS4 because it ships on a 32 gig cartridge, whereas most games come on an 8 or 16.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense then. And I guess that sucks, though, for Nintendo's point.
Which is like an almost $10 difference.
Yeah. And the devs don't want to increase their price. Games can get more expensive. I've said that before. Just charge $70 for these games instead. No big deal.
But think of that, if the 64 gigs is going to cost $25 US more.
I mean, yeah, well, depending on the price. Yeah, I get they can't scale infinitely, but I mean, some games deserve to cost more, and the types of games that are going to need more space are bigger games that more dev time goes into, so it probably makes sense.
But then they don't make the profit from it costing more. That's the problem.
Oh, right, and that's true. That's true. But I mean,
developers can all come together and say, we'll charge $70 for our games, but if we're not going to make the extra $10...
Right, no, and so what I was getting at more so, I guess, was like, if the cartridges say it's like extra $5 per game, you charge an extra $10, you're making a little more profit to satisfy, and then if people ask, why is this game more expensive than the generic dev time, we put a lot of work into this game, oh, and by the way, it's physically more expensive for us.
They could also just do what I've always thought should be the case, and have the digital download be cheaper than the cartridge.
Yeah, which is fine, because you're buying the cartridge because you don't want the digital download, generally speaking. You want a collection, and be willing to pay for that then. And I mean, and the thing is, I think game pricing is something that frustrates me a lot because every game costs a substantially different amount of money to develop. Every single game. There is no reason that every game should be the same price from AAA titles, or there's very common like marks like $19.99 for these indie games or whatever. And then, no, like charge $17.87 for your game because that makes you the comfortable profit that you need. You don't need to bump it up to $19.99 or charge $100 for your game because guess what? It's the biggest game that anybody's made. Like Witcher, for example, Witcher 3, right? I'd be willing to pay $100 for that game. Now, I haven't played it as much as I should have, but I would have been willing to because there's so much dev work that went into a game like that. Whereas Star Wars Battlefront should probably be like $65-$70, right? And none of the loot box crap, obviously. And stuff like that.
You should only be able to get the game through loot boxes.
Yeah, you have to give them $60, and you have a chance at getting the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's RNG.
That way you
EA.
That way, just to be able to get to the title screen, you get a sense of pride and accomplishment.
Exactly, it's true. It's true. Well, yeah, exactly. So what you can do is you can give them $60 repeatedly until you can get the game, or you can buy their other games.
No. You can let their system mine crypto off of your
computer
for
and
enough
then you
time
can get the game.
that you can play the game.
Yes.
That way, everyone can get the game.
Right, and it's like 100,000 hours to get the game.
Well, it depends on how fast your computer is.
That's true. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or it could be that you can get the game if you buy 50% of every other EA game out there. 50% of their games. Yeah. Then you get the game. So. That's a great solution. EA, you should, if you guys did, like, we get royalties. We get royalties for that. So.
I'll accept 1 Bitcoin a month.
1 Bitcoin a month? That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's only 1 unit of currency, guys.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
That sucks, though. That does suck, because that's going to push people towards, that's going to suck for the people that can't do, the physical download. The digital. Whoa! Sorry, it's not 3D printing the cartridge. Yeah. But for example, for me, like I don't have a data cap, right? I pay to not have a data cap.
Really slow internet.
It's not really slow. It's just slow.
Really slow compared to this area.
My upload's better than you. No, it's really slow compared to your area. Compared to here, it is the third tier down.
Let me re-clarify. It's really slow compared to the Portland metro area.
Right, but it's not really slow for my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thanks, Comcast. But I get better upload
10 times his speed for reference.
Nine times my speed.
Don't you get 25?
Oh yeah, but you get 250. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking. Never mind. I was thinking that you got like 225. So
you got.
Oh, I hit 30. Sometimes it hits 30. Actually, that's one thing I will say about.
It's because of the speed boost thing that Comcast does for the first 5 megabytes.
Yes, that as well as but also sometimes I've noticed business class will actually hit higher speeds for extended periods of time, only a little bit higher. But it's not like your consumer internet where like you pay for 25, you're getting like 21. Like we get 25 and up.
I've gotten 275.
Shh, don't make me jealous, all right? My upload's still better than yours by like 2 megabits, okay? So
if me and Calvin both
but
start
for me, I don't have a
at the
data
same
cap.
time, then we'll talk.
Okay, true. But I don't have a data cap. So I can download games onto an SD card, like no problem, right? Yeah. And I have a 256 gig micro SD in my Switch specifically so that I can download a bunch of games that I pay money for that I'll never play. So that's me, Next topic. This is the fun one, right?
Yeah.
Rips off Reddit users. Do you need the screen cap for this?
I mean, I feel like it wouldn't make as much sense if we didn't do the screen cap.
All right. So guys, for a quick moment, the microphone. And I hate to do this live, but this is the beauty of live. Will go mute, and you'll see nothing on the screen. I will try and fix it as fast as I possibly can. Okay, in theory, the voice is back. Now let me add the screen capture. Display capture. Display capture. And display captureception. Alright. So now we should be good to go. Alright, we should be good to go on that front. So let me get the source open. So talk about this, because I actually don't know much about this. You told me a little bit, but here.
Realistically, showing them is all they need to know.
Okay.
So there was a Reddit user who posted an ad concept that he had designed. And
okay.
and it was really cool. It was essentially...
It was for PUBG.
Yes, it
yeah,
was the
for
Xbox...
PUBG exclusive Xboxes, or is it just an ad for the game?
For PUBG being on the Xbox. That's really all...
For just being on the Xbox. Okay.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, especially on Reddit, to see people that are wanting to get into advertising post like their concept for something to get feedback so that they can make themselves better. So that's what
Is
this
guy filing a lawsuit?
I don't know.
Because he should.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. So he posted this, and it was, as you can see on the screen, Xbox One S, and with someone essentially like the PUBG map kind of on that little square, and the guy playing looking away from the face of the image, and Microsoft tweeted out essentially the same thing.
Here. Yeah,
the difference is that it's on an Xbox One X, it's got the controller in the screen, and it's got a crate. That's it.
Okay, the guy is technically different. He is okay. So the background. So
they literally took the concept and slightly modified.
They took the concept and made their own. And this is horrible. Don't worry, I'm not defending Microsoft. Okay. This is horrible. I'm not defending Microsoft. But they might have done it enough to get around legal aspects, and that sucks. That sucks. They might have done it enough to get around, well, obviously copyright, but also like intellectual property stuff. Because
I don't think that this guy was protected anyway.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, but this gives Microsoft a bad name.
But this wouldn't be covered under fair use. Because it's of the same intent of the product.
Right, yeah.
But with all that being said, so yeah, it was keep in mind, it's not Microsoft. It's one shitty employee at Microsoft who realized that most of his colleagues probably didn't see this post and wanted to
impress them by making his own version of it, which is just a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Microsoft, you know what should happen? You know what should come out of this?
This guy gets fired?
Well, obviously the guy gets fired.
Yeah.
The guy
guy gets hired.
That guy gets hired.
Yeah.
Microsoft should be like, "Hey, we're going to hire you.
We're going to hire the guy that designed this."
Yeah, so we're going to fire you. We're letting you go, and to replace you, we're going to hire the guy for double what you're making.
They should hire...
That would be the right thing.
They should hire this guy first.
Yes.
And then have the guy who's going to be fired from Microsoft train him on all of Microsoft's in-office stuff.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
And, you know, that's the thing, is that if Microsoft wants to put out a really good name for themselves as a company, that's what they'll do. It costs them almost no money. It teaches an asshole a lesson and makes this guy's life 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, you're benefiting the guy, an employee of yours screwed over, getting rid of the employee who, you know, made a bad name for you, and making yourself look good at the same time, all for the small cost of a guy's salary, right? So, like, that would be the right move, and I hope they do it. Because this guy imagine, like, this, after this blowing up, right, this guy would talk all over the place on the internet about how great Microsoft is for seeing that and understanding it.
So a lot of people, I was going to bring up that I haven't seen a response yet. A lot of people were tagging Major Nelson on Reddit. He did respond.
Who's that? Is that...
Major Nelson is Xbox's community manager.
Okay.
So he's the guy that should be responding to this.
Yes.
He said that it's under investigation and they've pulled the ad from all of their official channels.
Good. Okay. Yeah, because that's, like, you should be pissed. So they're taking the right steps so far.
Yeah. One of the great comments, slowly lowers pitchfork. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah, I mean, like, whoever works at Microsoft that did this is just fucked up. And Microsoft is like, cool. Oh, shit.
Okay, the one justification I could say, the one defense for the guy that did it, okay? The one defense is he saw it and didn't realize that he saw it and thought he came up with it on his own. Now, that may sound weird.
I know it's a thing.
But that's a thing.
It's a dumb thing.
It's a dumb thing. But as an example, when I was younger, I didn't remember at the time, but I saw an ad for Swipe, right? Like a couple months later, I thought, how great would it be if you could just draw on the keyboard and it works? And then I saw an ad for it and I was like, you know what I mean? I didn't. Yeah. It's not the same situation.
Key difference is when advertising is your job.
Yeah, plus there's also the aspect of this is something that's extremely visual, not just a general idea. Yeah. So it's, okay. And even that's like, that would be a really hard defense. This is your
job. Like if you saw a really cool video on something and you wanted to do something like it,
yeah,
you're not going to forget that and then do something like it. It's much less likely.
That's true. That's pretty unlikely. Yeah.
This is this guy's job.
And I mean, at that point, at least like design it and give the guy credit. Be like, hey, this guy came up with a good idea. Use his actual image.
Yeah, exactly.
And be like, boom, check this out. Reddit user made this. He's awesome.
Yeah, the guy
Right.
easily could have said, "Hey, advertising team, this is really cool. Let's
use this and
reach
tell-
out to this guy. Say, hey, we want to share this on our Twitter. We're just
Right.
gonna tweet it.
Do we have because when you design something, you have copyright protection, right? So they could just ask for copyright permissions, right? And then you're good to go.
Or they could just ask to tweet the link.
Yeah, that would work too.
Twitter would
that
grab
would work
the
too.
image.
Yeah, Twitter would still grab the image, and that's a good idea, and that would make this guy's day, and could potentially help him find a job if Microsoft didn't fire him. Or sorry, didn't hire him. Right? It could potentially help him find a job. Of, hey, look, guys, Microsoft used my image for promotional material.
Yeah.
Like, you slap down a portfolio, and it's super thin, and they open it up, like, what's in this? And they open up the portfolio, and it just shows, Microsoft used my ad, you're hired.
But now now he has this in his portfolio.
That's true. Yeah.
Microsoft liked my ad so much, they tried
to steal it, and they didn't get away with it. Yeah. The internet knows now.
Yeah.
I love the original post to 89.7K upvotes.
Oh, yeah, this reached r/all.
Has it reached r/all?
It did earlier. That's how I found it.
Let's see if it still is.
I don't think so.
Probably.
This was a
not.
while ago. This was technically a day ago.
Okay.
Major Nelson responded earlier today.
I'm scrolling.
It's not going to be there.
I'm scrolling.
As far as any future follow-up, we probably won't know the details of it because Major Nelson said that he'll follow up with the op directly.
And that makes sense. I mean, that's
fair.
understandable. So, interesting bit of news there. Yes. Oh, okay. So Joe says, "Hey, I finally caught you guys live, lit. You've been working double shifts at work, so you get out at like 1 a.m. Well, glad that you're catching it live. That's awesome, Joe. And hey, working extra shifts, money's worth it, right? I used to work 60 hours a week graveyard, so 10-hour nights, 6 days a week. That was fun. So extra money is definitely worth it, at least temporarily. So congrats on that.
Oh yeah, when's HQ Trivia launch on Android?
I don't know. I haven't even heard of this game.
Oh, you haven't?
No, what is this?
So
Talk about it.
HQ Trivia is a trivia game, obviously.
Okay.
Currently only on iPhone. But what's unique about it is, for one, there's cash prizes.
Okay.
And two, it's not like other trivia games where you just go play whenever. There's set times.
And you sit
so
down
it gets
and play.
everyone engaged
Interesting.
at these set times.
Interesting.
And so it's launching on Android soon. Prizes can, the HQ increase the minimum prize from $1,000 to $2,000. The minimum price is $2,000 prize, not price.
Wow.
Yeah.
The minimum, you have to pay $2,000 to use this app? No.
Yeah, $2,000 in microtransactions, a minimum.
$2,000 in Bitcoin.
That's not very much Bitcoin.
I
It's
mean,
not
yeah.
even 1 unit of currency.
I know. It's true.
So, they're trying to raise up to 20 million. Jeez. Trying to be valued at 100 million. I mean, look, I get why, though. This has been a very big thing on iOS.
It has. This version of the Gigabyte's website listed a GTX 1060 5G WindForce OC. Now, we DC'd for a moment. Don't know for how long. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm sorry for anybody that had a cutout on the stream. I don't know how long it was cut out for. That was weird. But anyway, so it looks like the 1060 5GB might be purchasable on the Gigabyte Chinese website. They actually listed a WindForce 1060 5G, which implies the 5GB version. And the WindForce cards are oftentimes the ones that are going to be sold to consumers, because generally Nvidia is just going to sell their reference cooler to like a lot of the internet cafes and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was interesting to see. So that was a little piece of news. I'm scrolling through to see what else we have to talk about, but we've covered the majority. Next week we have some plans, though, right? Potentially.
I might not be on the show.
So he might not be on the show.
If I'm not, Calvin will be.
Yeah, so he might not be on the show next week. Calvin might be taking a spot, which is, unfortunate because Calvin... No, I'm just kidding. He's sitting over there.
It's unfortunate because I was actually really hyped. I was talking to him about plans
because it's the
for
first
this
of the
episode.
year. Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do this and this and this, and I just remembered that next week is the week that I might not be able to be on.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Family stuff, that's all I'll say.
Yeah. But, either way, we're probably going to be talking a little bit about a recap of WordTech itself, not so much news, because most people know what news already broke over the last year, right?
I want to bring that up.
Yes.
I'll do it on stream. The reason that people like that stuff isn't so much hearing about the news again, it's the personalities and their thoughts on it.
Okay, and that's true. I get that.
So,
I get that. But also at the same time, like, I guess if I'm already following a podcaster, I don't want to
But their
hear
thoughts
their
may
roundup.
change over the course of the year. Like,
That's true. That's true.
yeah.
I
Or,
just-
or you might have things like, I think that this BlackBerry might screen, while it can break, it's very unlikely. Oh, it broke.
Yeah, right.
Some people want to know that stuff.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. But there'll probably be a little bit of a news roundup and also a roundup of the company and how the company has been doing. And then there will, of course, be future plans that we have going for the business and what's going to be going on with more podcasting, more videos, more articles, more effort put into the forum and the website and stuff like that. So I'll talk about all of that next week. Try and write up some specifics about that. But other than that, I don't think there's much more to talk about this week. Again, especially because Joe just joined, I just wanted to say that, the reason that there wasn't a video this Monday was also related to my data loss. I was working on recovering that, and obviously the holidays. So Friday, there'll be a video from me, pretty quick one. Monday, you should see a full video from me detailing my case. So just FYI to everybody that's watching, there'll be that out. Joe also mentioned something that I actually would like to talk about. So Corsair releasing new AIOs. So I actually had something saved about that and completely forgot to add it. Let me go find it
Wow,
again.
good job.
I know, I suck.
While you're doing that, I'll bring up a quick topic. For anyone that likes Civilization and owns an iPad, Civilization 6, the full game, is on iPad. It even supports keyboard shortcuts if you have one.
Right.
Which is pretty cool because, like, for a long time, even with Civ, the iPad games have been crap.
Yeah.
And now it's not. It's literally just Civ 6.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
And it's getting the DLC and everything. It's awesome.
So I pulled up an article from eTechnics about the Corsair liquid cooler. So Corsair H150i Pro and Corsair H115i Pro. I don't like how similar those names sound when speaking, but anyway, I would have preferred like the H120 or something like that.
Yeah, 150, 115, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. Or they could have just simply... Anyway. Okay, so they are a couple different radiators. So there's actually Corsair's... not a couple different radiators, a couple different AIOs, all in one liquid coolers. The radiators are different, though. So it looks like... Yeah, it's Corsair's first triple... fan radiator, so that's cool. I do like to see that. It's still, from what I understand, it's just going to be based on an Asetek design, so it's going to be like the other triple like 120mm radiators, 360mm radiators from Asetek. So Thermaltake has one, Fractal Design has one, and a few others have them based on Asetek. Of course, they'll have Corsair branding everywhere. The radiators do look like they are not the standard radiator, though, from Asetek, meaning they're either modified for Corsair or it's a new series of Asetek system that has come out. They're very squared off radiators, which I actually like the aesthetic of that better than the rounded off radiators. They also have a 280mm version, so that's two 140mm. Or again, the 360mm, which is the triple 120mm, which can do push-pull on both of those. I do like to see bigger and bigger radiators coming out, because with chips being released, such as things like the 7980XE 18-core, the 7960X 16-core, or the AMD Threadripper 1950X 16-core, the amount of heat output that you can get from those, especially when overclocked, really justifies actually a custom loop. Like my liquid cooler has somewhat trouble keeping up with my 1950X at stock clocks. So bigger radiators makes more sense because a lot of people don't want to have to build a custom loop to cool their high-end CPU. They're using it for work or whatever. But a large radiator all in one cooler makes a lot of sense. So I like that. The criticism I have though here is, first off, I just straight off the bat, I already think that the tubes are too short on the 360mm version. Now, I actually think a lot of AIOs have too short of tubes, and that's something that frustrates me. But of course, for smaller systems, if you're going to be putting like a dual 120 in an ITX system, you don't want long tubes. But you're not going to be putting a 360mm in an ITX system. That doesn't make sense. So I think they should make these longer, because in cases like my Thermaltake, the Tower 900, which obviously is a fully water-cool focused case, so it's kind of a niche scenario in that case. But in other situations, it could be actually important. Fitting most AIOs in there, in fact any AIOs in there, is basically impossible just because the tubes aren't long enough. I can't get the tube, the block to go reach the CPU because the radiator mounts in the back. There's plenty of gaps for me to feed the block through. but it's just the tubes aren't long enough. So right off the bat, I'd like to see them put longer tubes on it, please. These AIOs need to have longer tubes. It's a little bit frustrating. Second thing, I've never been impressed with Corsair's fans, even their high-end ones, other than their magnetic levitation bearing is a cool bearing. Basically, right?
Yeah.
So
what about RGB?
There are other companies that do it just as good as Corsair. Other than Corsair's $50 fans, they have the best RGB, I will admit, but they're not even using the magnetic levitation bearing, from what I understand, which means literally, you can get a 2-pack of magnetic levitation fans in white for $30, or you can spend $50 to get a single, well, actually, it's $100 for a 2-pack of the non-high-end bearing, but it has more RGB that's better, more accurate. That bothers me.
Yeah, RGB. That's what matters.
Yeah. Corsair focuses on RGB a little too much, to be honest.
It's where the money's at.
It is where the money's at, though. But Corsair's fans, I don't have a good track record with them. In fact, most stock fans with cases, other than Fantex, actually, I don't have a good record with, but especially Corsair. I have not seen them not have problems. As an example, I have an AIO that I got from a friend of mine that I installed in his system probably about a year before I got it, maybe 8 months before I got it. And albeit he never cleaned it, but I took these fans out. They make noise now. Mm-hmm. They didn't make noise when they were brand new. They're really noisy now. Like, you can hear them from here. Not the mic. The mic won't pick it up, but you can hear my computer. That's just the fans on the AIO. That's disgusting.
Wow.
That's disgusting.
Why don't you get new fans?
I'm gonna. But
right now, order them. Right now, live on stream.
I'm not gonna order them on stream right now. But anyway, so it actually bothers me what Corsair and their stock fans that they include with radiators, with their all-in-one coolers, are even worse. But it's a frustration to me because, as an example, like Be Quiet stock fans, actually there's another example. They're really good stock fans on all of their products, like their cases and stuff.
Are they quiet?
They're pretty quiet.
They better be quiet.
Fantex are reliable and not quite as quiet, but still pretty quiet. Corsair, NZXT, Thermaltake, their stock fans are never very good. They don't last very long, and they're not quiet. Okay. So that's just a little frustration to me there. And I understand they want to keep them as cheap as possible. But either sell it with no fans, telling people to go buy your own fans, especially on a 360mm. That's a premium one that's going to be used in a high-end system. You're going to have the money for a few more fans, I would assume, if you're planning to cool like a 1950X, right? Or include good fans. Don't just do the middle ground of include crap fans, because if you can drop $10 off the price for not including fans, like that's nice. I mean, it's not a big deal because you're not buying in bulk, as we talked about earlier, but it'd still be nice. Mm. So, but my thoughts are, they look cool. I don't like the silver on the water block at all because it doesn't match with a lot of things. It's not gray, it's silver. That bugs me. It would match my system, but a lot of systems I don't think it'd look that great in, especially with everything else being black and gray. But obviously you've got RGB on the block itself with the Corsair logo. I think they're pretty good looking, but they also look a little more outdated than something like NZXT's Kraken X62 with the mirrors that they have in there that make it look like it's a really deep tunnel of RGB. Like, that's a cool implementation. And Corsair is just like, here's another Corsair logo with RGB. Okay, never seen that before. So, but I mean, I will say they look cool. I mean, I like to see Corsair at least dabbling in larger radiator sizes. Yeah. So I'll say that.
And then one last thing. So, Pineapple Fund, which is essentially one of the many people who made lots and lots and lots of money off of Bitcoin. Yeah. This guy has decided to donate $86 million of it to different charities.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So he's donated to a few different major tech things. $1 million to EFF.
Good.
50,000 to OpenBSD.
Yes.
And $1 million to the Internet Archive.
Wow, because FreeNAS runs on FreeBSD, by the way. So. Yeah. Wow. That's really, really, really cool, actually.
Yeah, and then a lot of other cool ones. I think, let me see if I remember correctly, WotC, oh, never mind. WotC's not tech related. BitGive is, though. BitGive is actually one that's about trying to work on figuring out ways to use blockchain for charities.
That's
how
right.
they can take advantage of it.
And I like that, too.
And then they gave money to things like Give Directly, which literally just gives money to...
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, lots of cool things. Rich guy with lots of Bitcoin, giving away lots of Bitcoin.
Nice. That's good. Thank you. So I wanted to address one more comment before we close up here. So Joe was, going back to the AIOs, Joe was saying his H115i struggles with your 7600K at 5 gigahertz. So first question, what voltage are you running at to get that? Because obviously voltage is the biggest play in temperatures. Second, that actually kind of surprises me. That shouldn't have too much trouble with that CPU at that speed. As an example, I had my 4790K was running at, what was it? It was 4.8 gigahertz at I think it was 1.42 volts, I think is what I was pushing to. This was a while ago. And I had a 280 millimeter NZXT Kraken that was keeping up with it just fine. 1.31, yeah, so that's pretty low voltage. I would imagine that might be actually related to the TIM, the thermal interface material under your sorry, I'm losing my train of thought for a second. So under your IHS, your integrated heat spreader, you know, the middle little metal slug that's on top to spread the heat of the die, I bet you the thermal interface material under that is where your issue is. And that's one of the reasons people complain so much. You might already know this, but that's one of the reasons that people complain so much about Intel using TIM instead of soldering directly the IHS to the dies, is because sometimes you have bad heat transfer, especially if you get bad TIM application. And you can't really do a better job at cooling that, because if the heat can't get from the die onto the heat spreader, you can't do anything about it, because it doesn't matter how cold you make that heat spreader, the heat's not transferring off the die quick enough. So delitting might actually help you, but be really careful. I'm not responsible if you break it.
Yeah.
But delitting could actually benefit you a lot in that situation. If Intel would just solder, man, that extra like 10 cents that it's going to cost them, you know? Oh boy. But I think that's it for the stream this time, so we'll see you guys in a week. Obviously, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon page that we have down below. Or if you go to our website, you can go over to the WordCast tab and then go down to subscribe to WordCast, or you can just click WordCast. It's there too. To enter your email address so that you'll receive emails a couple of hours before the stream starts. And by a couple of hours, I mean sometime when I remember before the stream starts, so it might be right when the stream starts. Yeah. But you can receive email updates just about WordCast in specific if it's canceled or right before it's starting. We won't use that for like advertisement or anything like that, or new article posts, of course. And I guess thank you everybody for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, of course. So we'll see you guys in a week. Well, at least I will. He might not. He might. I don't know. If he's not here, Calvin will be on.
Yeah.
Thank you.